So as many of you know who are following me on your weekly dose of higher consciousness, I start off every week with 101 ways to happiness. And Dr. Hawkins has a book called The Book of Slides, which was actually put together by students of his after he passed. And he has 101 ways to happiness. So every week, I've got 2 years worth of content on 101 ways to happiness. So this week we're on 101 ways to happiness number 16. And what is suggested is that you let go of clutching and grasping. And this is something we all do. We want to hold on to something. We want to control the outcome of something. We want things to go one way or another. And this resistance to allowing something that you want to come in is kind of what he's talking about. When you stop resisting or like having concern that things aren't going to go your way, if you don't hold on super tight, is a common problem. And the folks at Law of Attraction, Esther and Jerry Hicks and Teachings of Abraham talk about this as well. Because there's an underlying energy running that's negatively oriented, that's suggesting, you're not enough, you'll have bitterness and resentment going on, whatever those lower level energies are. You got to learn to let go of holding on to anything. And I am a bit of a clairvoyant. And if you don't know what a clairvoyant is, it's someone who is able to see out of the third eye right here, right on your forehead, between your two eyes, just up on the forehead. And what that's like is typically I'll get visions in the morning or at night when I'm just going to sleep, because I'm kind of falling into sleep and I'm allowing messages to come to me. And what happens is I get this flash of an image, which like tells an entire story. It's kind of a powerful, intuitive tool to open up to. And we all have the ability to open up into clairvoyance. So I had a vision and the vision that I had was giving me a message of an eagle's talons holding on to something like a ticket. It was like holding on to it looked like the ticket like from a restaurant, like from an order book. And the talons were holding so tight. I got the message. You've got to let go, and you're definitely not going to get anywhere you want to go when you're holding on to something so tightly. So the weekly dose of higher consciousness is intended to help you learn how to let go of clutching and grasping and be free. And I've told the story before about I stepped into freedom, or the energy field of neutrality, as a teenager. I didn't know what I was doing, but I observed the energy shift, so to speak. I wouldn't even call it an energy shift back then, but I just knew I stepped into freedom when I was willing to let go of battling it out with my mother. Each one of us had to be right. Each one of us were going to clutch and grasp. But I finally said, you win, and I let it go. And it wasn't me losing it all, because I stepped into freedom. It was like freeing. I'm like, oh. And I tried to teach my mother how significant it was to let go of having to be right or hold on to anything or control anything. And she wasn't hearing it from me, so that's okay. But it's incredibly freeing to step into the energy field of neutrality. And if it's okay if it happens, and it's okay if it doesn't. So that's a good practice. Like, it's okay if it happens, it's okay if it doesn't. Let go of the resistance of thinking you have the control resistance. It's super freeing. I highly recommend it. So that's number 16 on the 101 ways to happiness in Dr. Hawkins' advanced teachings on raising your level of consciousness.